Alright guys, we've got some pretty cool knives today. This is the Shirogorov Hati On Lite. It is M390. And this was sent to me by Michael Rash to test. It also, after I did edge retention, went to Kurt for hardness testing. So we're going to be talking about this one. And I also have a Shirogorov Hati R in M390. And I don't know if he wants me to use his whole name, so this was sent to me by Daniel to test. Both of these knives were on the factory edge when I got them. Same as always, put a sufficient number of edges on them before I started testing. And I will say I did run, it wasn't an actual test I recorded, I just did trial runs on them to see how the first sharpening went. And I will say it was very close to what the actual results of the test ended up being. I know that Tom tested one of these also, not this particular knife, it was a different one, and I know the results he got with that were not so good. So it's going to be good to have two more Shirogorov M390 data points to compare to what Tom had going on with the other one. So we're going to go ahead and speed up the cutting really quick right now and come back and we're going to talk about both of these. Alright, now that we got the cutting out of the way, go ahead and talk about both of these. This goes for this example. I can't speak on the example that Tom tested. I had run this one previous to Tom getting the one he had in for testing. So I already knew what this one was going to do. And it had already gone to Kurt and been tested for hardness. Before we go over the results, both of these are sharpened to 15 degrees per side, and the geometry behind the edge is almost identical. Both of these cut very nicely. And I may as well cover it for both of them. Both of these sharpened up very nicely. No problems deburring, pretty easy to deburr. They came up very nice, even from the first sharpening. Absolutely enjoy both examples of this M390 from Shirogorov, and both of these pretty much acted like my S90V Shirogorov does in sharpening and stropping. So go ahead and get to this one. So this one, like I said, both were factory edges. I sharpened this up. I did a preliminary test on it. It wasn't my test. I still taped off a 1-inch section, and I still kept track of what I cut. Same cardboard I always use. I just wanted to see how the very first sharpening was going to go. I don't know how they grind their blades or sharpen them. I don't know if they use a wet system, a misting system, or anything like that. I will say the first edge I put on this that I just ran for the hell of it was within 10% of what the actual test results came out to be. Even though that was the case, I didn't know at the time. I put a couple more edges on this like always, and I went ahead and tested it. On the first test, I got 222 feet fine edge, 402 feet working edge. Great results from this M390. I know a lot of guys wonder what your money's getting you. I can't say what happened with the example Tom had. I don't know. And you'll understand why in just a minute. So I went ahead and sharpened this again, stropped it again, ran the test again, and I got 217 feet fine edge on the verification test, and 388 feet working edge. Absolutely solid result. Couldn't be happier with it. While I have it in my hand, I do like this knife. It is a little small for me though. It's kind of like Delica size. Absolutely nothing wrong with it, just smaller than what I like. So let's go ahead and talk about the Hati R now. Oh, and I did forget, like I said, this had been sent to Kurt. He tested it twice, and both times it was 60.7 HRC. So whatever they did on this particular knife, they did an awesome job that it cut as much in working edge as the 62 HRC PM2 did in testing. So, very happy with this. Same with this one. It was on the factory edge. And for those of you that don't know, this was the third example of a Shirogorov that I got and sharpened from the factory setting. And the bevel looks so tiny on these to begin with because all three of these were right around 22 degrees per side when brand new with a factory edge. So I went ahead and sharpened this one, and while I had the chance, I was curious, so I went ahead and ran it on the first edge just to see what it would do. And on the first edge, I got 216 feet fine edge, 384 feet working edge. So I went ahead and sharpened it again. Ran it a second time. And the second test, I got 228 feet fine edge, 380 feet working edge. That does back up the first result, but since I started on the very first edge, to see how well the knife was as delivered, obviously had a lot less overheating or steel fatigue going on. The third test, sharpened the same way, stropped the same way. 225 feet fine edge and 391 feet working edge. So all those results are single digit percent apart. I didn't work up the percentage difference in tests on either of these from the numbers, but just looking at it, I'd say we're somewhere about 3% at the most apart from each particular run. This one will go to Kurt for hardness testing. I will update at the end of this video with what that hardness is to go along with the results of testing. Seeing how it did so close to this one, I would expect the hardness to be about the same. They felt pretty much the same in sharpening, came up the same way, deburred the same way. Alright, the one time I don't have my phone on silent and it rings on me. So like I was saying, from sharpening, stropping, cutting, I expect this one to be pretty close to this one as far as hardness goes. Either way, both these examples did very well. I'd be perfectly happy with these. Nothing wrong with them. Yes, they might be a little bit more expensive, but these two particular examples definitely perform very well. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything you want to talk about, put it down below in the comments. That's all I have for these. As always, I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.